All right. Good morning, everybody. It is Monday, cliffcentral.com, and we have got lots of stuff to talk about, lots to get into, and hopefully start your week on the right note. I'll introduce you to our guest in the next couple of seconds, and we've got plenty to talk to him about, too. Leigh-Ann will be joining us, too, so stick around for that and a whole lot more. All right. I suppose it's a shitty note to start on. In fact, it's probably the most shitty note to start on. But I saw Mark Pilgrim died yesterday, which is very, very sad. And, you know, there were people kind of talking about that a lot online yesterday. And he very publicly shared the last few months, maybe even years of his... He shared his previous journey. In fact, he wrote a book about it. I think that Mark was an extremely brave guy, and to have put all of that out there is a choice. I wouldn't have made that choice, but he's a different kind of guy, and he was always very consistent. And I'll say that it's extremely sad when anyone, you know, radio's kind of a small business. We all sort of know each other, and we worked together for a few years at 5FM, and it's extremely shitty. And I'm really, really sorry for his family and so many of his friends. And, you know, it's kind of like when you see someone going through all of this stuff, it immediately makes you think of people you know who've been through the same thing, people in your own family, friends of yours, and, you know, cancer kind of hits everybody right between the eyes, which is never nice. So my condolences to Mark's family. And you know, I wouldn't ever say we were like close friends, but the guy definitely had his place and time in radio, and he made a contribution, which is, you know, it's going to be there forever. I suppose his voice is going to be in people's heads for many years to come. So go well, Mark. I'm sorry that you know, despite all your bravery and courage, sometimes these things just take you out at the knees, man. Oh, this cancer is a real bastard. And it could come for any of us at any time. So just, you know, don't be one of those people who sits around going, it's not going to be me, because you don't know that for a fact. And it's pretty shitty. It just really is. There's no other way to put it. I've said that now twice. It's the only way I can kind of figure it in my head. And I hate talking about this stuff because it makes me extremely uncomfortable. I hate thinking about mortality, you know. It's awful. Let me bring in someone who's going to cheer me up this morning, because he does this for a living. This is his whole business. He is Craig Urbani. I mean, who doesn't know that name in South Africa, right? Craig Urbani he's a legend of the stage and theater in this country, and many screen productions, it's worth saying too. He's also one of those people who's you're incredibly good at being just, you know, in a world where I'm going to start off by complimenting you, because I mean, you've been a part of our Cliff Central family at a time too. You hosted Spotlight with Alan Ford for a while, and you know everybody in this business.
Well, I've been around. I've in this business, meaning radio. First of all, hello, nice to be here. Thanks for letting me be here. It's great to be here.
Craig, yeah.
Gareth's talking to everybody and looking at me and nodding, and I'm thinking, can I speak yet? Because you haven't said that I'm here yet. So I'm sort of looking at you.
Did you know Mark, by the way?
I knew Mark. Yeah, I actually I saw a Facebook memory come up the other day of Mark on one side of me and Jeremy Mansfield on the other.
Oh,
and we were standing there. Jesus. It was when we were doing the Rocky Horror Show. So it's 2020, and I thought, wow, they're both gone, and it's scary. It's frightening. And as you say, it calls to mind your own mortality, and just makes you
stop
like,
I'm
the
only one in this picture who's still alive.
I'm still around, right? Yeah. And grateful to be that, and happy to be here. Thanks for having me on. It's good to be here. Well, and I mean, yes, I did do that show with Alan Ford briefly, and we loved that, man. And I saw Al at rugby 2 weeks ago, and we said, come on, man, we got to. I
saw a picture of the both of you.
Yes,
you put that on social media too. But we're going to talk about what you're involved in at the moment. But just to give everybody a little bit of background, because I don't want to give you a partial CV here. It's worth boasting about.
Are we going to delve?
No, I mean, it's just worth. It's you know, you deserved a decent intro. He's a multi-award winning actor, singer, dancer. He'll be playing Khashoggi in the brand new production and major world tour of Queen and Ben Elton's multi-award-winning rock musical We Will Rock You, for which I think we played a promo just the other day. All South African cast, right?
Right.
You actually have you done this one before?
No,
you haven't done We Will Rock You.
I've done a few rocks, Rocky Horror, Rock of Ages, but never We Will Rock You.
Okay, and then you did Buddy Holly famously. That was incredible. Thoroughly Modern Millie, Chicago, Contact, Kiss Me Kate, Rocky Horror.
Yeah.
I think I saw you in Rocky Horror. And we had film credits. I mean, you got a lot going on here. Music, you've got these recordings, which, I mean, there are CDs, there are album CDs. Listen to me how old I am. There are albums out there with your name on them. And lots of awards. It's also worth saying Naledi nominations for all kinds of awards, Fleur de Cup nominations and Green Room Awards, all kinds of things for the stuff that you've been doing. So thank you for entertaining us for so many years and keeping us entertained.
You're welcome. Thank you. Yeah, it sounds good when you say it like that. It hasn't always felt like that, but
Craig, when you were doing the show with Alan, the show was flying. It was doing really well, and then of course COVID came along, which just about destroyed the industry you work in.
Absolutely.
I mean, because people couldn't go to theater, it all shut down.
It was tough. I think the only parts of the entertainment world that kept going were was I mean, even I was doing a little stint on radio with Ryan Flynn at the time as well, and that was difficult we were doing a little thing on mix, and even doing a bit of broadcasting was difficult. I think the only thing that really carried on and thankfully was TV series kind of fought the good fight, and they kept going, they kept filming. They kind of have to, don't they?
Sure.
So some series kept pushing through. One of the ones that I'm on now was just carried on going right through COVID, as tough as it was. And we kicked off.
Which one's that?
Bid and Lunders, which I'm on at the moment.
I mean, you've done a bunch of these. You've done like Isidingo, you've done Generations, you've done Bid and Lunders, you've done
Scandal.
Legacy.
Yes, and Legacy started during COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, they got that off the ground. It's no longer with us. I'm not sure what all the reasons are for it not going beyond a season 2, but there's a lot of speculation. But they got that thing up and going during COVID. So thankfully that kept me busy, because, as you say, the live aspect of what we did was completely gone, completely annihilated.
And I think people missed it, because now you can see people are desperate to get out again and do things and entertain themselves and be entertained.
Well, there is that. I mean, you spoke about the Rocky Horror Show. That was the last. I don't want to say the last big show at Monty, but it was kind of the last big show before COVID happened, and during COVID, during the years of COVID, and now kind of post COVID, if we can say that. I think we can be bold enough to say we're post COVID. Let's hope so, eh?
Well, not in Leigh-Ann Moll's house. She thinks she has. Are you serious that you think you have COVID? I mean, you're like, who cares?
Surely not, Leigh-Ann.
You're the only person who's even spoken about having COVID in the last, I don't know, year and a half. Are you serious?
Yeah. Well, actually, friends of mine returned recently from a trip to Mauritius. And
not Wuhan.
No, not Wuhan. And they got COVID during the whole traveling experience. So it is still, sorry, I've got hardly any voice left.
My God.
It is still lingering. And just listening to this now and the way we speak about when we had when there was COVID, etc.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of pandemics or really big world incidents that affected everyone on a global scale. And if it was war, that ended, that there were no more people running around in towns shooting people with guns. There was a clear cutoff line, but with this there isn't. It still kind of lingers.
But it's not. Is it a thing anymore? I mean, like you're not actually worried about like passing COVID on to someone, killing them.
No,
because we know it doesn't kill anybody anymore.
I'm conscious about passing it on. Especially when you have family members who are older and more vulnerable, then I do think of it. And to think that I obviously picked this up by being around people who were irresponsible about it, It is what it is, and I'm in return being responsible and trying to stay at home. And if I do go out, I wear a mask.
Wow, you're going to stick. You're probably the only person in South Africa who's wearing a mask if you go out. That's very disciplined of you.
I thought it would be weird. I've been out to the shop once. Otherwise, I've been shopping online. But when I went out to the shops once, I thought people would look at me strangely for wearing a mask. But I think it's become so ingrained in us that you don't even notice it anymore.
It was so strange doing the show. Now, hi, Leigh-Ann. Have you confirmed that it's COVID?
I haven't been for a test because I don't have to go into an office or anything.
Yeah, but she's paranoid.
So you may have flu.
She wants it to be COVID. I know how she is.
She's
a hypochondriac.
Come on, Gareth. I've never experienced symptoms like this in my life before. The weirdest.
So did you never have COVID during COVID? When it was,
I don't think so.
Oh wow!
No, I don't think so.
Is this your first bout?
She's got FOMO. So basically, for the last 3 years, she didn't have COVID.
What about me?
Yeah. What about me? Me. So now she thinks she's got it. I'm telling you, it's not.
It was strange to go to Manila. We were doing the show. We'll Rock You. We've been to Manila so far in Singapore. Manila. They were all still wearing masks, and it was very strange to the mandate. Actually, halfway through our first week there, they said, "Right, you don't have to wear masks anymore," because we came from here where we are now free, except for Leigh-Ann, obviously. And then we got there, and everyone's wearing masks. It was very strange to go back to that. And then halfway through, we heard the mandate. I took it off, and then someone stopped me from going into a shop, and I said, "No, we're fine now." But at night in the theater, in the audience, you just see little white masks in all the.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was bizarre. And then in Singapore, they were more relaxed. But if you went on the underground, if you used public transport, you had to put on a mask. Only there.
Okay, so there are still places where this is happening.
Yeah, definitely in Asia.
So what are these? What are these symptoms of yours, Ass? What's going on there?
Well, I first thought it was just part of the menopause with all the hot flashes. Flashes or whatever they call them.
Because you're at that point in your life.
I'm at the uterus drying up stage point of my life.
Gareth goes, yeah. Like he knows. He expected that.
Are you kidding? My uterus dried out years ago.
My cleaner was here and she was laughing at me because 1 minute I had the fan on and then in the next I had
just hold on. I think we can hear your vagina. Hold on.
No, it's just crickets.
I want to see those.
Just crickets. I've tried listening before. There wasn't much. So it was the hot and cold, and then losing my sense of taste and smell, and I still didn't really click until it became the actual symptoms that you think are flu, like the nasal drip and the voice and the upper respiratory, that you only get later.
There are people all over the world listening to this guy.
Well, you asked me.
Yeah, I know, but still, I mean,
I was like, that's a boring question.
Okay, then it was my fault. Anyway, we've got Craig here. Listen, this guy's he's a phenomenon. Have you seen any of his? Before we get to Craig, actually, you obviously heard about Mark Pilgrim. You got anything to say? Because you also worked with him for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew him quite well, and I'm thinking particularly when I knew him and Ray White were very close friends. So I'm sure I'd like to actually reach out to Ray White because I'm sure he's probably lived through difficult times with Mark leading up to the end. I mean, Mark's had been battling cancer from when I knew him, and I knew him 20 years ago.
Yeah, right. So I mean, that's a long
his whole life. He's been battling against this, and I was thinking back to the days that we used to smoke in the studio. You know, while I was reading the news, I had a cigarette in my hand, and that's just the way it was. And
you could never tell from your voice.
And he would just sit through that. And I mean, his death was due to lung cancer. And I remember him saying, I really don't like cigarettes. I don't like being around people who smoke. but he never really said why. In the meantime, he'd been battling that for so long, so many decades. And just an amazing guy. I know that people say this when people pass. I know they do. What an amazing
they always say,
guy.
they only say the nicest things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you'd have asked me 2 weeks ago what I thought of Mark Pilgrim, I would have told you the exact same thing.
Yeah. You got to be honest about these things. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you see, we bring Craig here, and then all we do is talk about other people. This is no good.
Unacceptable.
This is totally uncalled for. All right. So just tell us about this show that you're doing now, because you said you've done it in Manila already. And where else did you say?
Singapore.
Singapore's an amazing place. Huh?
Great city, incredible city. I was there I was there 23 years ago, and it's just unrecognizable now. I mean, it's extraordinary.
It is the most incredibly futuristic, modern, technologically advanced,
clean,
capitalist working society in all of human history.
Very functional.
And Americans go there and they marvel. They think they've entered the future.
Yes.
Because their own airports and public utilities looked like dog shit compared to Singapore.
No, it's certainly a city. It's on the move. It works. It functions. It's clean. It's pristine. It's incredible. It's an amazing place to be.
Yeah, it's like the poster child for anyone who believes that governments can achieve things.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. And so coming home was nice.
Well, yeah. I don't detect any sarcasm in your voice. Okay, so you've been doing the show a while now, so you know it like the back of your hand.
Well, we know it. We had to when you go to Singapore, you have to kind of you take out all the sexiness and all the swear words and all the naughtiness. So you have to kind of
you censor yourself.
Yeah, you have to.
Like what kind of stuff? You can't have any. Is Freddie Mercury not gay in Singapore?
No, he's not gay. No, we don't like to talk about that in Singapore. Wow. No, but I mean, we had.
I still think Freddie Mercury's straight in Singapore. Why he die? I don't understand. What happened to him?
So we had to take out a bit of the sexiness from songs like Fat Bottom Girls and what
do you call them?
But now they were just girls.
Girls.
And we took out some of this, and I remember that from when we did Buddy there years ago. I did the Buddy Holly show. Then we had to take out it, and someone comes and watches and checks on you. And then goes, no, this is okay. You can put this out there.
So the government sends a guy to sit there and check that everything's all right.
I remember that. Where I actually met the Prime Minister when we did it there, Buddy, there, way back when.
You must have shat yourself.
That's a big deal.
I mean, you see, this is the thing, right? And I don't want to harp on Singapore too much because we do want to talk about the show. But for a government to be able to do what they've done, you need unquestionable authority.
They're pretty strict.
They're very strict. I mean, it is, for all intents and purposes, a free society, but there's stuff that you just can't do. No one does drugs there.
No.
You don't drop litter on the street. You follow the rules.
Chewing gum.
The chewing gum is the old the thing everyone always talks about. No chewing gum in Singapore. You're not allowed. I did ask if I could buy some somewhere, and they did say no, and just looked at me like,
"No, well, you want to go to jail?
Are you a fool?" Yeah.
Did you think at any point this is the kind of place I want to live?
You know what? It is. There are elements that are appealing, just in terms of the cleanliness, how it works. That's it. Yeah. It's a functionality thing. Everything.
South Africa, you switch on the lights and we're so impressed.
Exactly. It came on 15 minutes early. Thank you, Eskom.
You have water.
So
and
grateful.
You're like, there's clean water.
Oh, it's working. Yeah, no, exactly.
Sure.
I mean, it's just everything is pristine, on time. It works. It's functional. It's and so you feel that, especially when you come from here, you kind of feel that everything is just on point.
Right.
And there is an appeal to that. There is a little bit of a kind of I don't know. It's sort of lacks a little. I like a bit of gritty. I like a bit of edgy. I like a bit of unknown.
I keep saying to people, like, we've got a nice
mix. Sterile. I think maybe that's the word. Sterile.
I know South Africa's got major challenges, but I'm almost. This has come up a couple of times on the show, so it's nothing revolutionary from me. But I kind of like the fact that we're a bit like the Wild West here.
I do like that a little bit.
You
as
do
well,
what you want, and as much as so much doesn't work and it's very frustrating, and we would love things to be a little bit more functional, and we'd love a government that didn't steal 99% of stuff. If they just stole 20%,
we'd
like
be
every
okay
other
with that.
government, we'd be fine with it.
We'd be all right with that.
But obviously we have to put up with a lot more nonsense. I still think better a place where you can make your own rules as an individual. And nobody really cares about the government. No one respects the police. In South Africa, you're left to your own devices, which, if you're very poor, is a hell of a shit place to be.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you have nothing in South Africa, you really have nothing.
Yes.
No one's coming to rescue you.
Yeah.
And if you are extremely wealthy, you don't give a damn.
That's right.
And if you're somewhere in the middle, you kind of, some of the time, are very, very frustrated, and you have to have private healthcare and private education. All of this costs an enormous amount of money. But there's still a way to make it work for you.
That's right.
And
maybe it's that I kind of miss that sort of, that you've got to grab it, you've got to make it happen. You can bend it a bit, you can push it, you can flex your muscles, but there you can't.
And you've been all over the world. What is it about? Are South African audiences great just because they're your people and this is your country, or are we not that great? I mean, line us up with the rest of the world.
I think it's hard to judge, because when you're doing a show here, there is that familiarity, and you're home, and people know people, and it's like, oh, who have you got in tonight? When I was on the West End, you get a cross section of people, so you're never just doing it for an English audience.
No, sure, they're from all over the world.
They're from all over the world. So that's different, and there you definitely have good and bad nights. It's not here. There is a sense of consistency that, I don't know, maybe the South African audiences almost put a little bit of responsibility on themselves to make tonight happen. Like, we're here, we kind of know these people. They're from our country. They've brought the show home, and we're going to make it a good one. Having said that, I think South African audiences are quite responsive. I think they.
Is that your outfit?
I think they
That's Rocky Horror. Let's not get people confused. We'll talk about your relation. You look just like David Hasselhoff in this picture, except much younger, obviously.
In that one there?
That's from We Will Rock You.
That's from We Will Rock You, yeah.
Don't you think he looks like the Hoff, Leigh-Ann?
David Hasselhoff, I wouldn't have said that. Would not be the first thing that I said.
I know what you
more
mean,
like...
I don't mean in a shitty way. I mean like in a good way. Like
the Vampire Diaries, that Nordic guy.
Yeah, he's kind of fierce. He's kind of fierce looking there, Khashoggi. Yeah.
So it's Khashoggi. Now the real Khashoggi is an Arab billionaire.
Yes.
There's
a journalist.
Yeah, there was the one who was killed by the Saudi government and hacked into pieces and put in a suitcase.
That's not him.
You'd have to be nervous about performing this in Saudi.
And you need quite a big suitcase, because look at those shoulder pads.
I know.
So
that outfit's amazing.
The costumes are extraordinary. They on my standing next to me, there's Killer Queen, who they've kind of in this version made a little bit of a kind of cyborgy, as you can see. Yeah. And Londiwe is playing her, and it's the old show. It's the show that was in London that has the stamp of approval from Brian May and Roger Taylor, and written by Ben Elton. It's not the greatest book in the world. It's not going to win Pulitzer Prize for what's on the page, but you have the songs of Queen. Which that helps.
Damn right, those are the greatest songs.
And I mean, I battle with jukebox musicals where they take pop songs or in this case sort of 70s glam rock and pop rock songs, I suppose, and try and forward a narrative through them. It's not always easy to do. I would prefer to do a show about Queen and then you perform Queen songs. You'd rather tell a story about Queen and perform Queen songs. But this is one of the jukebox musicals, they call them, where they've created a narrative. So we're telling a story here, and we're doing it with the help of songs like We Will Rock You and Bohemian Rhapsody, another one Bites the Dust, and It's a Kind of Magic. So Seven Seas of Rye, you name it. So One Vision. So all the songs you want to hear are there. And we got a great young South African cast performing them. We got this boy Stuart Brown, who's straight out of LAMTA, which is the performing arts school at the Theatre in the Bay in Cape Town.
Okay.
Singing Freddie Mercury in Freddie Mercury's key and doing it with ease and doing it 8 nights a week. Yeah.
I would go to the show just to hear that.
Well, he does it with such ease. It almost takes some of the...
Holy hell.
I said to him, can't you struggle more? Can't you make it look like you're working more?
How old is this guy?
He's, I think he's early 20s, 23, 24.
Wow.
Yeah, he's doing it. And
that's incredible because, I mean, listen, everybody marvels at Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, the range.
He did have this. Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah. So he's doing, and also, you know, when you hear Freddie, whenever you hear live concerts, Freddie alters the melodies because it was hard for him to do it every night. This boy can't do that. He has to do it as per, you know, as it's written.
So you could even
every
argue
single night.
in some ways he's more consistent than Freddie. He's more he's forced to be,
as is Adam Lambert. But I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. He's incredible. That man sings Freddie.
Amazing.
I mean, I think I know there's purists out there who would shoot me down, but I think it's a tribute to Freddie, how he sings Freddie's songs, and again, better than Freddie. But,
wow, you're gonna be, people are gonna kill you for that. They're gonna be some Queen and Freddie Mercury fans.
But he ain't Freddie. He ain't Freddie. Yeah. That's
sure.
That's the difference, you know.
Wow. Okay. So Matthew says that outfit makes you look like a Nazi.
Yes, he is a little bit Nazi. He is. Yes, Khashoggi is. He's trying to kill. He's trying to kill rock music and live music, and so he is Nazi in his outlook. Yeah, Nazi-esque.
All right, so we got a couple of comments here. By the way, you can call us 0832955769. We're doing the phone calls this morning as usual. You can give us a shout and we will put you on the show. You just have to dial that number like you used to do in the old days before comment sections. So, you know.
Do you remember that the one girl we had recorded doing phone calls? She's like, phone calls, we get your phone calls, we get your phone calls every day.
Yes, I think I've still got those somewhere. I've got to dig them out. Get people calling in again.
She was so vibrant.
There are a lot of people here talking about about how they got COVID. I mean, nobody cares. Except, I mean, it's only Leigh-Ann, but Ramita there. You and Leigh-Ann can have a conversation about this. She's like, had the first strain.
I'm sorry that I'm so late to the party, Gareth. So unfashionably late.
So unfashionably late that nobody is left to care. Really, it's just awful. All right. So you are in quite a public relationship with someone who we know from the show, from showbiz as well.
Yes, yeah, she's a wonderful Afrikaans
cool story.
Actor and very loved and
how did you guys meet?
On Binnenlanders.
Yeah. Okay, so this was a set romance.
Yes. Well, it was a set friendship. I came in there as a call actor, and Cindy Swanepoel, that's who we're talking Cindy. About. There she is, the most beautiful woman in the world. And she is a very established character. She plays Annelies Roux on Binnenlanders, has been there for going on 8 years. And wow. She's fantastic in this role. And so I arrived there as a sort of guest artist. You must stay in your lane. You don't want to arrive and go, "Hey, how you doing?" So I got in there and we were working. There was no time to play around.
Keep it professional.
Or what did she say in one of the interviews? She said there was no time for cuteness, for being cute. We were working, but we got on like a house on fire. We had a wonderful chemistry. She's got the most fantastic sense of humor. We laughed. We laughed and played hard, and then we got on the floor and we worked hard and we did it. And then I did that first arc and I left. And then they kindly wrote another little storyline for Jeremy, and I came back, and it was during the second stint there that I sort of started going, hold on a second.
This girl's quite
she's
compelling.
She's extraordinary. Oh. And we almost a year later, we're engaged.
Jesus, man, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
That's fantastic.
I'm very, very, I can't believe it. It's unbelievable for me. Yeah.
There we go. You see, Leigh-Ann, there's still hope for all of us.
Love
will triumph.
Love will, yes, absolutely. And I mean, I literally did not think this was on the cards for me. I didn't think this was going to happen. So I've been blindsided, and I'm very happy to say, yeah.
And it's so difficult not to end up dating someone who is in the same kind of business, because that's always how people used to meet. I was talking to someone the other day about how HR departments have made it so difficult. Like if you work in a bank, the chances are that you would have met someone in the old days in the bank. Now, you're not allowed to meet anyone at work because it's a slightly different situation if you're in TV or in, musicals or whatever else it is, because you kind of, there isn't an HR department like there is in these corporations.
Yeah.
But in a corporation now, if you even wave to someone with a cheeky smile on your face, you could basically get fired.
Find yourself in trouble. Yeah.
Isn't it true?
No,
I mean, it's like such a problem. Where do people meet?
Well, that's exactly what I was saying. I was sitting with my mother having these intense conversations saying it's never going to happen for me. I'm 52 now. So I've never been married.
You look damn good for 52.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Yeah. And literally saying to her, I don't go out partying. I don't drink.
So where are you going to meet people?
Where am I going to meet people? And she always used to, and she's not wrong. She would say, well, I don't know, maybe join some kind of.
How old is Candace?
Walking, Cindy.
Cindy's,
she's younger than me, 41.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not the biggest age gap in the world.
It's a bit of a gap, but
it's not insurmountable.
She seems okay with it.
Yeah. How do parents feel about this older man?
Exactly. So far, they seem fine.
They're all right with it.
But I used to say those exact words. I used to say, "How will I meet someone?" And then people say, "You don't meet anyone that's gonna last in a nightclub or
no, you won't."
So so I accept that. But I literally used to be sitting on my couch sometimes and think, get up, Craig, go out, do something. And I would do it. I'd get up, go out, arrive there and go, cool, I'm going home. And I'd turn around, walk back to the car, go home and think, I don't know how to be proactive here. And then, of course, there's the online thing. I've never been a fan of that.
No,
but you can't. Like the chemistry thing.
You can't anyway, because there's probably someone with a fake Craig Urbani account who's already trying to score, and he's probably cleaning up.
He's probably doing quite well.
I'm sure he's doing all right. Yeah.
with the over 50s.
No, but so listen, again, 50 is not what it used to be.
Yeah, well,
when our parents and grandparents were in their 50s, they were like getting ready for retirement. Here you are doing like busy, crazy, coordinated, choreographed dance moves on a stage and singing your lungs out and touring the world, and
can't complain.
That's in your 50s. That's damn fine.
With an extraordinary woman in my life. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and you've met this amazing woman, and now you've got a relationship. You're basically entering your prime.
Living the dream now. Yeah. But I wasted a lot of I was all over the place. I wasted years as well. So I think I'm doing things slightly in reverse. I think I'm fitter than I've ever been now. I'm in better shape than I was when I was in my 30s and early 40s.
Well, we're gonna save this because we're gonna talk to Dr. Hanan about this too. He's our resident psychologist, and I'm sure he's got some things to say to us based on your example that might help a whole bunch of us who are thinking about whether or not it's relationship time, whether or not we're too old, whether or not there should be an age gap, and maybe there are things that you guys have encountered that would be instructive to the rest of us.
Right.
So we'll get into that.
So we're going to chat to him. Good.
Let's look at a couple of stories in the news. I want to hear what you two think of this, Leigh-Ann and Craig. And then we'll also take your calls, 0832955769. So let's look at this. First of all, the story about Mark Pilgrim. He was 53 here. So by no means old. Stage 4 lung cancer, just to give you all the facts here. Then Lloyd Madurai, who was the managing director at Hot 102.7, that was the last place that Mark worked, said our hero and brother, much-loved radio personality Mark Pilgrim, lost his battle with cancer yesterday morning, Sunday at 10:45. He fought valiantly until the end. He passed away peacefully with his fiancée, Adrienne, in her home. They were both together for his last breath. So very, very sad story. I don't know what else there is to say. There'll be many tributes pouring in this week, I'm sure. And, in July, he revealed that he was doing his 7th round of chemo and that his latest scans had shown a further significant reduction. But, this cancer, because it's your own body turning on you. So there's just no way to effectively beat this yet. And I hope to God that somewhere in the next 10 to 15 years, they managed to find some way for us to beat this. Is it my imagination, or do you just hear about it more? Is it because I'm older? I just feel like the word comes up more, that more people. What do you think, Leigh-Ann?
No, it's been consistent throughout my life. My grandfather passed away from cancer when I was a year old. And since then, I've lost family members and friends consistently. So for me, it's been a consistent journey. It's incredible to think, and sorry to get back to COVID, but how quickly people rallied around to find vaccines and, do such intense research. cancer's been sitting on the to-do files on people's desks for so long.
Yeah, no, you're right.
It's just really sad and frustrating.
Well, you know what else is sad and frustrating is watching anything President Ramaphosa does. But apparently today is the day. Dun, 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 dun. He will announce changes to his executive. So I know we've been waiting so long that many of us have died just waiting for him.
That's like number one on our
In fact, Mark Pilgrim sent me a WhatsApp on Saturday night saying he was waiting for the cabinet reshuffle. Anyway, so we'll see if that happens. And then I don't know if you've been paying attention to this, but I only became aware of it over the weekend. Apparently the Wits SRC have been protesting, and apparently they also excluded the media from covering their protests. I saw a couple of videos last week of people pulling signs off of street poles and just generally destroying shit. And I thought, oh, okay, it's got to be students at university, because it used to be that uneducated people behaved like this. But then I suddenly realized like universities are full of uneducated people now, because they've become places that perpetuate an infantilism, that people are held in their adolescence for far too long by these institutions. They're given accommodation, they're given food, they're given free classes in many cases. There are people who are put into university because they think that this is a key to them being employed. In fact, they attach huge importance to university because it's the way out of poverty for many people. But what it ends up doing is creating an environment where people just get pointless degrees, and they extend their lack of responsibility for an extra 5, sometimes 7, sometimes even 10 years, studying bullshit like, anthropology.
Yes, exactly.
Which no one needs.
And pulling signs off walls because they're so entitled, because they want everything for nothing. And
so I don't know if you saw this over the weekend, but apparently the president of the Wits SRC said that if they don't get free accommodation, free food,
free education,
then there's going to be hell to pay. The guy actually said that they will bring South Africa to its knees. Now, I don't know who this guy thinks is going to pay, because if your education's worth anything, you should have to pay for it. It means that the lecturers, the source materials, the practicals, all the stuff you have to do at university, someone has to do that. In other words, someone else has to pay for that. Who does the SRC of Wits think? Who do they think might pay for this? And if it's the responsibility of everyone else in South Africa and not them, I don't want to pay for your education. I could give a shit about you being educated or not.
Yeah.
I don't have a responsibility. You're not my child. I didn't make you. I'm not paying for you. Straight up, I refuse. If the higher education department thinks that it can take a part of my taxes to pay for someone else's education, I'm already pissed off.
Yeah, and that's beyond baffling.
Anything from you, Leigh-Ann?
Just thinking about how different it was when we Gareth and I were at varsity. It was still really quite a privilege, and you were very aware of the fact that your parents were paying heavily for it. Not that didn't mean that you'd end up bunking and smoking weed and failing first year.
Yeah, I just wasted time at university. Me too.
But otherwise,
total waste of time.
I didn't realize how things had changed so much, and now when you talk about it, I think, yeah, I mean, when in our time there were always 1 or 2 students who'd been there for about 10 years because they kept failing. But now to think that there are people who are kind of doing that on purpose to stay in the lifestyle.
Well, also, I mean, there's another part.
Desperate to move on.
There's another part of this that no one's talking about, and that is that universities have become unbelievably expensive. And especially, again, if you want to spend the first 10 years of your working career paying off your student debt, I don't think it's worth getting that degree.
Yeah.
Maybe there's another career that won't have to cost you hundreds of thousands of rands before you've even started a job.
Leigh-Ann, I completely agree with you. And what Leigh-Ann is saying about back in our day.
Oh my God.
But it's so true. There was that thing of we don't live in a world now where a degree guarantees success or guarantees work or guarantees money or guarantees anything. But then it was like, well, if you didn't go to university, you weren't preparing yourself for your future. If you were lucky enough and your parents could afford it, as Leigh-Ann's saying, one of the biggest driving forces behind me getting my degree was I've got to do this. My folks are paying a lot of money for this, and they kept reminding me of that fact. But it's a very different kind of situation now, because it doesn't give you the same guarantees that we thought it gave us then. It was like, oh, if you're going to university, you're taking your future seriously. First of all, you're lucky enough to have this opportunity. Someone's going to back you with the money. You better make this work. You better pass.
And please stop destroying shit. Yeah. Like, this country we're on the bones of our backside in terms of basic infrastructure, water and electricity. Don't go and take down the street signs too because you're angry. I mean, you are not allowed to behave like a 12-year-old.
Yeah, don't destroy.
Who's having a temper tantrum. It shows me that you're actually not ready for university in the first place. You're about to enter a place where you are supposed to learn, where you're supposed to question, where you're supposed to be adult and curious and inquisitive and thoughtful. And you're showing me that you behave like some kind of creature that hasn't yet developed its cerebral cortex properly. It hasn't developed the frontal cerebral purpose of being able to meter and measure the reptilian brain. Like, until then, I can't take you seriously. So it's almost like, if you do that stuff, if you're going out and wantonly destroying public infrastructure, you kind of shouldn't be allowed to go to university anyway. They should just immediately put you on a list of, okay, you're not good for this.
You're not ready for this.
Yeah, you're not. You're not right now, you need a 5-year cooling down period where you go and experience the world, and maybe, you learn how hard it is for other people who are not asking for free education, who are already working. And let's talk to you then. Can't take you seriously like this. And I know that for many people, this sounds very unfair, but I'm starting to think that there were kids a couple of decades ago who were already at work in their teens, while they were still at school sometimes, because now you can't do that, obviously. But there were kids who were doing waitering jobs. They were out there selling stuff. They were fixing things for other people. And you're talking about people who are 5 to 10 years older than that, and they're still not prepared to enter the workforce or do anything. Yeah. They want everything done for them. I'm not going to take those people seriously. I'm
Absolutely
so sorry.
Not. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. All right. Well, Slippery Pickle says, my parents couldn't afford to pay university fees, so I opted not to take a student loan. Instead, I took a trade. Why the fuck should I have to pay for someone else to go to university? Yeah. Well, I think that's a lot of people's opinion.
There you go.
Dear Linda says, should we? Okay. I'm not sure what's going on here. Dear Linda, I'm going to try and paraphrase you, if you don't mind. Should we stay away from the protest on the 20th or join it? Should we all do something together as South Africa to put our foot down? No, I don't want to join any protest. I've said before, I don't do protests. It's just not my thing. I don't think it achieves anything. And I think this country is up to here with protests.
Yeah.
From Zuma must fall. Do you remember those protests?
Yes.
To the trade unions.
And fees must fall. That's how the must fall thing started, I think. Correct. It was. And which was also university linked, yeah.
Right.
Fees must fall.
Dr. Robin says your parents paid and you got a student loan and a part-time job on the side. Well, that's, of course, if you have parents who could have paid.
Yeah.
Because that was that's a serious gripe that a lot of people have, which is, I think, a worthwhile thing to discuss. So we have NSFAS, and we have a whole bunch of means and ways for people who are prepared to work hard and get good marks for them to get into university. But to pay for everybody? Hell no. Sorry, that's not on. My parents didn't pay for my studies, says Famous Mama. I worked and studied for it. Even though they could have paid, my dad taught me, my dear, you steal with your eyes and you learn everything. Well,
there you go. Nothing wrong with that.
Tyrant says, put them on a boat with the other socialist wannabes and post them off to Cuba or Russia. Let them get a real taste of everything for free. Well, Russia's no longer socialist, but yes, okay. Cuba, also not really. In fact, I think you would struggle to find a truly socialist country in the world right now, because everywhere they've tried it, it's been a disaster.
Yeah, looks good on paper.
Anyway, Sven, just to end off this conversation, Sven says, hey, GC, I did my carpentry apprenticeship in South Africa. Then I went overseas where I learned even more. Debt-free, who needs university? Well done. There we go, Sven. All right, so let's turn our attention now to Dr. Hanan, who is our regular on a Monday morning. He helps us to figure out our way around some complicated things. And Dr. Hanan, how are you this Monday?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you guys?
Oh, we're good. Craig's here in the studio with us. Leigh-Ann's at home.
Hey, Craig.
And I'm excited to say Cindy is here too. Cindy Swanepoel. Hey, nice to see you, Cindy. Thanks for joining us.
How's it? Thank you.
You look. You're one of those people who looks. I mean, you're not in person. You're on video, but in person, you look better than your photographs.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Well, I hate posing, so maybe that's why.
I know, but I mean, this picture of you. This picture of you and Craig, you look better on video and in person than you did on there. Very nice.
I think you're being dwarfed by my beauty in that picture.
You too.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Are you two? You're not competitive because Dr. Hanan, that's going to open up a whole can of worms. But let's just talk about a couple of things here, Doc. There's so many things to unpack with these two, and I'm very, very excited for them that they are engaged, that they're about to, or that they have already started a life together. There's something about this which I think is unique in the modern world, because there's so many people who can't get going in a relationship at work. It's difficult for a lot of people. There are all kinds of rules that apply now that were never there before. But these two managed to make it happen. There's a small age gap, and that's also something worth discussing. But what do you guys argue about? Like, if you had to identify any areas in your relationship that you'd like Dr. Hanan to maybe help you with, I'm not saying there's a problem, what would you say they are? Craig, you go first.
Are there any areas of that? I don't see things repeating. I don't see the same things coming up for us.
That's good, right?
Yeah, which I think is
that
good.
Right? Is that good, Doc?
Yeah, that is good, because conflict in a relationship is actually not only okay, it's actually important. It's necessary. When I see couples that they say, "Oh, we never fight," I know, we're getting a divorce in about 6 months. Because conflict allows you to learn about the other partner. We change all the time. You are not the same person that you were 6 months ago. You're certainly not the person that you were 6 years ago, and you're not the person that you will be in 6 months' time. So we change all the time, and you've got to re-fall in love with the person that's in front of you, because you're actually re-falling in love with a different person every 6 months. So how do you get to understand the person? And what naturally happens is needs change, wants change, likes change, preferences change, and conflict allows you to, it's a message to the other partner going, hey, you need to see me differently. You need to understand me differently. You need to approach me differently. You need to satisfy different needs. So it's a difference between successful and unsuccessful relationships. An unsuccessful relationship go through conflict, don't learn, and keep on repeating the same problems all over and over again. While successful couples go through conflict and upgrade their understanding of the person that's sitting in front of them. But getting a 51 is a 51 and I believe, or 52 and 41, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the age gap is irrelevant, because as we grow older, that I always tell couples the age is not the problem. The issue or the question is, are you in the same phase in life? Because if you were 51 wanting to not have kids, you don't want to, you've already settled down, maybe you have your own kids, and Cindy, maybe you are wanting to start a family. Now you have different values and different visions for the relationship.
Of course.
And that's the kind of conflict that you can't compromise on. You can't compromise on 0.8 children. So you're either going to be 100% one way or 100% another way. But if you're on the same phase and you share the same vision, then it can work beautifully, especially with good communication.
Yes.
Dr. Hanan, is there someone testing out a motorbike in your back garden or something?
I think the neighbor should close the door. Would that be easier?
I think probably, yeah. I mean, I'm hearing like someone making donuts on your front lawn. That's what it sounds like. So I don't mean to pry, and it's probably none of my business. But have you and Cindy had the conversation about kids at all? Because what he's talking about is absolutely right. Like That's got to be something that people talk about in the beginning. Otherwise, it's going to be a disaster, right?
Absolutely. I love what he's saying about it's not about what age one is or what age the other is. It's about what phase of your life you're in, and is that compatible?
Yeah.
And are you in the same phase? And I love also what he said about you don't have to always agree. It's good to disagree. It's good to have conflict. It doesn't mean, oh, we're in trouble or things are not going well. I love what Ricky Gervais
and
says.
there's growth with that, eh?
Yes, exactly. It's arrogant to think that you're going to go through your entire life and no one's ever going to disagree with you. It doesn't make them wrong and you right. You must be open to that. As humans, that's what makes us colorful and interesting. And that's part of our fabric and the substance that you learn from people, even people that you don't think you can learn from. Someone that you think, this person can teach me nothing. If you're that closed off, you're not open to receiving from anybody. So I love what you said, Doctor, about the same phase, and I love that disagreements don't mean problems. Having said to answer you, Gareth, Cindy and I spoke about it. I've got a daughter who's 16 years old. I've never been married, but I've got a 16-year-old. And when Cindy and I met, I said to her, where are you on this? Because I would happily do that. I would love to have a child with you if that's what you want. I'm also fine to not have a child with you if that's not what you want.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It was
what did you say?
I've never wanted to have a child. I kind of established that when I was in my 30s. I was like, okay, I'm cool with not doing that because I never met the right man, if that sounds... I mean, I just never wanted to have a child with anyone. But with Craig, I'm like, oh, yes, I think I can do this. But I'm not really keen on having one. So we've established that it's all right if we don't have a child. Yes, but with him, sure, I can go through those challenges.
I think that's quite beautiful, actually. So it's down to the person, not just your own needs. It's who you're with as well. All right, so Doc.
But I want to add something that could be quite useful, especially when you get engaged or when you meet somebody later on in life. The major difficulty that I see, at least in my practice, is you are so set in your ways. Because remember, Craig, you had a life, literally a full life of kind of working it out on your own and getting into your own habits and interests and likes and dislikes, and you have certain routines and certain foods that you like and certain routines that you have with your friends and your hobbies. And Cindy, you're the same. When you're young, you kind of mold yourself. You're so malleable and you kind of mold yourself together. But when you're older, you set in your ways and your partner's set in their ways. And that's where the good communication is way more important than even earlier on in your relationship or a relationship that's much younger. Because now I've got to take my lifestyle that I'm so stuck with and I really like and it really works for me. And we've got to take your lifestyle that you really like and you're really stuck with and that really works for you. And we've got to find a way to mold ourselves with each other and in the stance. So that's where communication is even more important and more relevant, especially as you get older and meet somebody in a much older stage.
Absolutely. Yeah. I totally agree with all of that, especially the getting stuck in a certain, you start getting very stuck in your ways and you like how you're doing things. And I think for me, I've made more wrong choices than right choices. So I'm certainly making better choices.
Were you looking, or had you kind of given up and thought, well, I'm going to be a bachelor for the rest of my life?
Both. I would fluctuate between the two. I would wake up some days thinking, come on, this could still happen for you, Craig. You're doing okay. And then I would, on more negative days, I'd think, no, well, I'm done. This is not going to happen for me. And I've messed it up, or I missed the boat. So that's come and gone. That opportunity's come and gone. And you know what the other thing is, and this is what's scary, and is that I am 52, and when I would see, when I went,
she's like, oh Jesus, I made a terrible mistake.
when people would say, Craig, we want you to meet this lady, and they would introduce me to someone, and I'd be like, that looks like I'm not attracted to that lady. That's an older lady.
Oh.
And then you think, hold on a second, Craig, look in the mirror. You ain't all that. You are, you know what I mean? So you have to be realistic. I mean, I don't know how, we don't see ourselves as others do. And I'm constantly being reminded of, you're not that young anymore, Craig.
Yeah, but you also work with young people the whole time,
I work.
right?
I'm double the age of some of the people in this We Will Rock You cast. That is the reality. You know.
But that keeps you young. But at the same time, you kind of forget that you
can lose perspective.
Yeah,
you got to be realistic as well. You have to be realistic. So I was fluctuating between it's never going to happen for me, and then trying to have days of being hopeful, thinking maybe it still will.
Jesus, Dr. Hanan, I don't know what's happening over there, but it sounds like he's getting more and more outrageous.
He's brought the Flymo mower into the room.
Do you live next door to Evil Knievel? I mean, what's the story?
I couldn't actually hear it. Oh my God, that's so funny. I'm wearing noise cancelling earphones. I can't actually hear it. I took it off and it's loud. I'm going to speak to the neighbor after this.
Someone said maybe it's one of Dr. Hanan's patients that had escaped.
All right. So, Cindy, have you had to deal with people joking about like gray ball hairs and shit like that?
Oh, no.
Or is that not something you've had to worry about yet?
I think I joke more about that. No one's mocked me about that. Craig's good looking, so it kind of he gets away with that.
If he was 52 with a big boop and like he didn't look after himself and he wasn't so fit, obviously you wouldn't have even looked his way, right? Because not that I'm saying you're superficial, but there's old and there's old, right?
Exactly. And I'm very much into fitness. So that one thing we share, I really love that. If I don't work out, I have to work out every day. I at least do something, walk or yoga, and Craig's the same in that area. And I never thought I would find someone who would match that crazy, because I can't function. My day can't function if I didn't work out. Like yesterday, we had a braai, and we knew we were going to eat a lot. So we just went, let's just
we quickly did it.
Quickly.
Wow.
So
he's
fit, and that's lucky. It's sexy. I like it that he, it doesn't matter what age. I've never had a boyfriend, let alone fiance, who works out and who's like understands that part of fitness, or it just helps a bit with the endorphins.
Just so you know, I'm doing it a lot more for you. I don't want to do it as much as I'm doing it, Cindy.
You do though.
Yeah, I'm doing it because
you should watch out. He could lose the use of his hips if you carry on like this.
I'm in quite a lot of pain. I'm in a lot of pain as I sit here. Just want you to know.
All right, well, Doc. Oh wow, that's real love. Massaging someone's feet. I mean, I can't imagine anything worse. I've never loved anyone enough to massage their feet. God bless you, Cindy. You're very lucky, and I think, Doc, the prognosis here is very good for these two, right?
I'm the lucky one.
Yeah, there's such a nice vibe, as you can see, and as you can tell, you can date somebody, you can date a million people, and it just doesn't work out. But once you meet the person where it fits, you can actually feel the vibe and the energy. It's beautiful. It just works for sure.
Well, there we go. All right, Doc, thank you very much for this morning. And Cindy, thank you for joining us. I know you were looking to have a nice quiet start to your Monday, but
she's got a day off today and she's up
early and looking as good as you do at this time of the morning.
Lipstick and everything, yeah.
I know, it's so impressive. Very nice. All right, well, there we go. What a winner for you. I mean,
thank you,
dude,
babe.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. No, she's the most extraordinary person I've ever met. Yeah.
Cheers, Cindy. Amazing. Nice to see you. Lovely to meet you.
Bye, girl.
Damn.
I remember I was in a relationship with a
substantially older man.
51 or something, 51 or 52, and we started dating, and I was about 34. There was a 16-year age gap, so excuse my maths. I've also blocked some of it out of my memory. Not because of his age, but just because of the way it turned out. But I had absolutely no problem with the age difference, and I was very attracted to him. But I do remember the once he was a rower in his younger years, and he would still like row on a rowing machine. And I remember watching him going into the sea. We lived at the ocean, and I said to him, you look like a 30-year-old man from the back. And he said, and from the front. And I just kept quiet.
Just keep walking ahead of me. Just keep walking ahead of me.
We laughed at that.
Oh, wow. But, all right. Well, we have much more to get to in the next hour. And we will return in just a couple of seconds, so don't go anywhere. cliffcentral.com, Monday morning. It is the
6
6th.
minutes after 10, they've sent out the press release. We fired the bitch. First person I call is my mom. She's like, you're going to sue them. I said, no, I'm not. She says, you're going to sue them. I said, no, I'm not. You're going to use this constitution that we have, which is one of the best in the world, and you're going to sue. Do you hear me? So I go, Ewema. David calls me. He says, Mom and Dad have spoken to me. They've told me you don't want to sue. They're telling me that you are going to sue. So we're suing. My dad was like, you're not going to touch them for at least a year. So I'm like, why? He's like,
I just know.
no, he said it. He said they're going to turn on each other. I'm like, Daddy, there's no way they're going to turn on each other. He said to me, Mdanam, our people have told me that I must tell you, you're going to wait a year and let them turn on each other. So when they fired Sbongile, my dad said, now you can go.
to break free. I want to break free. Time for losers, 'cause we are the champions of the world.
This week on the Auto Trader podcast.
I know somebody who I actually work with was telling me about the time when lightning struck their house, and essentially all the plugs got fried. And because they didn't have those little red, I don't know what it's called, but those plugs which
Was a requirement by the insurance.
was required by the insurance, and every single appliance got destroyed, but they didn't pay out. And I was like, what? It seems like something that should be kind of at least discussed.
Yeah.
So just read those terms and conditions and see what's going on there.
Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
All right, cliffcentral.com. We are live. Leigh-Ann's just in the bathroom, but she'll be back in a moment. So stick around for that. She sometimes she gets the squirts and the COVID at the same time. So we'll wait for her in the meantime. Craig Urbani is with us this morning, which is very exciting. Craig, of course, is on a new show called We Will Rock You, which is in Johannesburg. Where can people get tickets, etc., etc.? Where is it all taking place?
It's going to be at the Teatro at Monte Cassino, and tickets are at showtime.co.za.
Awesome.
If I'm going to make sure I'm correct on that.
I'll check you.
Deborah D'Souza will have me if I get this wrong. But it's showtime.co.
There we go.
Am I right?
Is that right? Yes. Showtime.
And we are at Monte at the Teatro from the 12th of March until the 16th.
That's
of
become
April.
like the best place to do shows in South Africa.
I think so. I always loved Joburg Theatre. I always loved that venue, but I think
Who wants to go into town?
I think there is that kind of that element to it. So so Monte, the Teatro has become the kind of prime.
No, I think
spot.
that's right.
Yeah,
That's about right.
a great theatre.
So we got a couple of things to talk about here. First of all, apparently China has, and I love these stories when they come, especially from CNN, because you're not really ever sure how to believe in them or whether to believe in them or not at all. China is going to increase its defense spending by 7.2% and are setting an economic growth target around 5%, because otherwise they're in massive, massive trouble. If China isn't growing, then there's internal dissatisfaction. There isn't economic growth. There aren't jobs being created. There aren't people becoming richer. And in a country where everything's controlled centrally, it's very bad news because people start to break away from that centrality. If everything's going well, everybody's on board.
Right.
But they seem like they're headed for a little bit of a disaster here. Of course, they've also got a huge population problem because they've got more men than women by a long way. Because, of course, during the one-child policy time, there are a bunch of people who decided, no, we don't want a daughter. So the daughters were aborted.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Wow.
and they were only sons. And
given up for adoption.
yeah, and there are a lot of people in China who are saying we are the last generation of China. They don't want to get married. They don't want to perpetuate the family legacy. There's none of that stuff going on. So, it's a big problem.
So they want to keep growing, but they have a population crisis. Is that
exactly?
Oh, okay.
A lot of
and if they're not growing, then they have an economic crisis.
Either way, China is not looking as great as everybody about 5 years ago was saying they were.
Yeah, that they just had.
It's not even for them. It's
doing
not
it right.
easy.
Yeah, right.
So there's something to think about there. And, you know, we often talk about kind of international stories, and this is going to be the biggest one, not just in terms of numbers and people, but in terms of the numbers of the economy.
Yeah.
So you got to watch what's happening in China. And it's interesting that this story also says that they're increasing their military budget to 1.55 trillion yuan. And that is because they have to also become more kind of territorially aggressive in order also to fulfill people's expectations inside of China. You know, they can't be on the back foot anymore because for the longest time, they play the long game. And now people are starting to say, ooh, looks like they're actually going to become a little more aggressive, a little more punchy internationally. We will see what that means. But there are 2 sessions since Xi Jinping secured a norm-breaking 3rd term at the top of the Chinese Communist Party. He's set to enter his 3rd term as president, a largely ceremonial title during the conference. Their GDP expanded by just 3% in 2022, missing the target of 5.5% by a wide margin. And now there's a lot of pressure because it's the 2nd lowest annual growth rate since 1976.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a huge amount of pressure. Trust me, whenever you think that there's a country that's doing better than you just have to look at their own problems and you think, I'd rather have mine. Certainly in some respects. Congo Chris says it's not just the men thing. The one-child policy bottlenecked the population. There's more pensioners than people paying tax.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That causes economic collapse and unspoken truth of population collapse. So they're looking at that as well as being a major problem. So again, you got to pay attention to China. And then this is an interesting story. Computers powered by human brain cells may sound like science fiction, but a team of researchers in the US believes such machines, which are part of a new field called organoid intelligence. Doesn't that sound horrible?
Organoid. I'm sure they could have come up with something better than that.
Sounds horrible, right?
Yeah.
Could shape the future, and they now have a plan to get there. Organoids are lab-grown tissues that resemble organs. 3-dimensional structures, usually derived from stem cells, have been used in labs for nearly 2 decades, where scientists have been able to avoid harmful human or animal testing by experimenting on the stand-ins for kidneys, lungs, and other organs. So they make these things in the lab, and then they test those rather than on humans.
Than on humans, okay.
And it's better to test on those because they're not rats or, you know, gerbils or whatever.
Monkeys.
They're not living creatures.
But also, these are actual human organs.
Right.
So they can test them without having to kill a person and without having to kill an animal. So obviously, it's a much more sensible way of doing it. But anyway, these brain organoids do not actually resemble tiny versions of the human brain, but the pen dot size cell structures contain neurons that are capable of brain-like functions that are forming a multitude of connections. Scientists call the phenomenon intelligence in a dish. This is fascinating. A guy called Dr. Thomas Hartung, who is a professor of environmental health and engineering at Johns Hopkins, they say that they've been growing many of these brain organoids by altering human skin samples since 2012. He and his colleagues envision combining the power of brain organoids into a type of biological hardware that is more energy efficient than a supercomputer. I mean, think about what your brain can do with, you know, a cup of coffee, let alone a proper meal. And then you think about how much power a supercomputer needs. So this is way more energy efficient. Plus, it seemingly can do a lot of the stuff that the computer can do. Even though it's not a creature, it's just a bunch of neurons. So this is really on the cutting edge of what could be next. Biocomputers. How does that make you feel?
Oh, it's crazy, man. I mean,
That's extraordinary.
I saw
another place
something.
where humans can be replaced eventually, I suppose. Yeah.
I saw something just yesterday. How this scientist had revealed that he and his team were able to let mice age and then take the mouse's aging eye and reprogram the genes in the eye. They didn't take it out of the mouse. Let me just be clear. That sounded like they took it out of the mouse. They were able to, using some kind of genetic programming via surgery to the mouse's eyes, completely regenerate them. So the cells grew in time to become completely new, and the mouse had like 20/20 vision. And that they are able to do that with any organ in the body, even the skin.
Bring it on.
And it's now at the phase where
Craig is hoping one day he'll be younger than his fiance.
I'm going to be younger than Cindy. That's it.
Yeah. They're doing it at the moment. They're experimenting on, what did they call them? Non-human, but within our DNA range. So probably chimps, etc.
Yeah.
Which I don't like to hear about. But if they're making them younger and regenerating their cells, then that's okay. But
yeah,
they
if they're
apparently
not,
can do it to any organ in the body, including the skin.
They're not testing makeup products in them and trying to kill them on purpose. They're actually doing stuff that helps the animals and will help us ultimately. But I mean, wouldn't it be cool? Because, I've often spoken about the work of Ray Kurzweil, who's this futurist. He wrote a book called Live Long Enough to Live Forever. And I probably read it 2 or 3 times just because it fascinates me on every level. The fact that we could eventually overcome, and this is where we started the show this morning, mortality.
Yes.
Right. And a doctor friend of mine just messaged me while we were talking about, how cancer can be overcome, for example, and said more than 80% of the cancers are now curable. And this wasn't the case 40 years ago. You see, again, we hear about these things and we don't actually know what's going on the ground. Not all cancer is created equally. Some is worse than other. But those are the ones we can't yet beat. Apparently, there's an oncologist who can speak on this with some alacrity. We'll try and get that oncologist on the show because I think that would be
80% of cancers are curable.
80% of them are curable. So this is, again, we kind of need to take stock of how far we've come instead of just complaining about how we still have things to beat. And if we could do things with neurons that could make our brains behave more like supercomputers, who's to say we won't be able to develop the kinds of computing abilities that your chat GPTs and artificial intelligence are now capable of? I asked chat GPT for just for fun the other day to summarize chapter 3 of Leo Tolstoy's War and Peace in 1 paragraph. And within seconds, it came back with a breakdown of kind of characters, what happens in terms of the plot in a paragraph. I mean, it could probably give me a bio on you that would be better than that, like all over the place intro I gave you. You know what I mean?
Anything would be better than that.
Yeah, I know.
No, I mean it's
terrible
it's extraordinary. I mean it's kids at school are just they're not writing their own essays anymore.
No,
it's just like, hey, give me a little bit of that. And
I was talking to somebody who actually they wrote their thesis on ChatGPT right in the beginning when they just started, like last year, making it public, handed it in, and the lecturers had no, they didn't know about it.
Didn't know what they were talking about.
Got the degree.
Wow.
Yeah, not difficult. I love that. So, I mean, again, if we could figure out ways of doing what Leigh-Ann said with the eye, for example.
Yeah.
No, you don't even need glasses. You don't even need LASIK surgery. A lot of these things go away and new things come in. You could go in and get gene therapy for your eyes, and next thing you know, the cataracts are gone. The lens is much more malleable. You get 20/20 vision in your 60s. That would be heaven.
Wow. But where will it end? Where will it go?
So you don't want to get to 100 and have a shitty body that's not keeping up with your mind, or vice versa, that you have a mind that's deteriorating, but your body's still good.
Yeah.
That's
like
where
I
we
said, you look like a 30-year-old from the back, but what about from the front?
Yeah,
What
right. I
about
mean, you
from
can
the
fix
front?
you can now fix the front, right? Ancient Ether says there are cancer patients out there who are living their best lives. Oh yeah, and I know some of them too. But only when this friend of mine said 80% of them are curable did I actually think about it. And Marco, who's got a spinal cord injury, says this sounds great for spinal cord injuries. And let's not forget about Neuralink by Elon. For sure, absolutely. If we are to live forever, will we lose our humanity? Life can't be pay to play, which is what will happen because it'll be expensive. Also, the reaper must have his harvest. Nobody should live forever.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. Where will it end if we can regenerate?
Well, what do you think?
If we can.
What'll happen? Do you think if we live forever, everything else will collapse? Morality, values, religion, because it will cause the end of some of those things.
Yeah. And the humanity aspect, you have to kind of, well, I think we have to live our lives like we know we don't have forever. We got to seize the day, grab the moment, reap what you sow, all that kind of stuff. And if you have boundless, endless time, it just takes that kind of pressure off. You can get more wrong and without consequence.
Yeah, and you can really try everything that there is to try, right?
This
I mean, most people go, oh, no, I won't do that. I don't have time. I mean, I'm obsessed with wasting time, obsessed to the point where I will forego probably some very good things in my life just because I'm terrified of wasting time.
Right. But there's no consequence. You can't live consequence free without accountability or without consequence. I think that's dangerous.
I think you're right. That's probably true. Leigh-Ann and Craig, and if you're listening to us, think about this one. Someone posited this question the other day. Imagine you could find out, you could go to an oracle, or you could go onto ChatGPT and ask it, when will I die? Would you want to know the answer? If they were always right, they were never wrong. In other words, that would be definitive. So it would say to you, on your 35th day of being 86, you're gone.
New history.
And you knew that was exactly the amount of time you had left. Would that alter the way you behaved?
I would imagine it definitely would, and I wouldn't want to know.
You wouldn't want to know?
No.
Would you want to know, Leigh-Ann?
I don't need to because of my hypochondria and anxiety. I think I'm going to die every day, every minute.
That's
of
true.
Every day.
Yeah, see,
I mean, on an airplane. On an airplane, I think I'm going to die as many times as I breathe in and breathe out. That's how many times a thought crosses my mind.
You are such a disaster. We should just get Dr. Hanan. We should just get Dr. Hanan on for you every Monday. We'd never run out of material.
Breathe in, I'm going to die. Breathe out. Breathe in, we're going to die. Breathe out.
Oh my God. All right. So here's a good question from AAR for all of us. Would you rather have a shitty body and a decent mind at 80 or vice versa? That's something I've thought about a lot.
Well,
no, come on. It's a good would you rather. Answer it.
No, if you're talking about a shitty body, do you mean that it looks terrible or that you have shitty lungs, shitty liver?
No, that you're in pain and your body's not working properly. Who cares what you look like at 80 whatever, 80? What's it going to be? Would you rather lose your mind or be shitting all over yourself?
Oh,
it's interesting because my gran, who was a very proud woman in the way she looked, she would, unfortunately, because of the generation she grew up in, she had wildly different ways of thinking about keeping slim, and would go for days without eating anything but maybe a licorice all sort. And she had a pretty fit body for someone her age, and yet she lost her mind due to dementia. And she always said, when she saw other women in that position, she said, if I ever am like that, just shoot me one day. And unfortunately, that's what took her in the end. And her husband, my grandfather, was the complete opposite. He had diabetes and skin cancer, and his body was starting to fail him in so many ways. But his
you can inherit so much good shit here, Leigh-Ann. No wonder you're paranoid.
but his mind was 100%, and he died at the age of 102.
Wow.
With a completely sharp mind.
So what you would want to inherit is his mind and her body.
Then you're golden.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe you have, but you're such a hypochondriac that you don't appreciate it. So
yeah, I mean, how many
don't know
more
what you've
years
got.
I might live until 102, thinking every day that I'm going to die.
Every breath.
Mongezi says Leigh-Ann would die instantly if the oracle gave her the forecast.
Yeah, I would. I just give
And
up.
Congo Chris, you see again, like Congo Chris says some pretty ridiculous and crazy things, but this is true. You should live your life like every day is your last. We only have, we all have to die one day. Every other day we should live. I think that's so right. And if I had to look, I think if the oracle told me, I don't think it would change anything about the way I behave.
Oh, really? Well, that's good.
I don't think I would be any different in terms of the way I do things. I've got such a list of stuff to do, and I'm ticking them off slowly, and I'm trying my best to be present and to enjoy what I'm doing at every step. Now, there are obviously things that you have to plan for in the future and the things you have to think about in the past, but most of the time, I'm here.
But that's amazing that you can say that.
If here isn't working for me, I want to get out of it.
Right.
And I'll move on to what's next immediately, as quickly as I can. I mean, within reason. You can't be sitting at someone's wedding and thinking, "Oh, this is a waste of time. I'd rather be reading a book." So you have to measure your behavior. But yeah, I think I'm getting better at.
Well, that's great. I mean, I don't know how many people can say that. I think that means you're doing it right. You're doing something right.
Hope so.
You're showing up for your life as you wanted to.
Yeah, I know there are some people who would not want to know at all, like you.
I think, I don't think I would want to know because I want to believe that I'm living like Congo Chris says, that I'm making it count, that I'm being present, that I'm here, that I'm doing my best, and I'm aware and I'm growing, as Dr. Hanan was saying. We got to grow, we got to learn and evolve, and I would like to believe I'm doing that. There was certainly periods of my life where I was a bit stagnant and coasting along, but I would like to think that now I'm getting a little closer to what you're talking about. I'm by no means there. But
maybe you're further than I am down that road. Who knows?
But fear. Fear must bugger off. That's what we must. Well, for me, I need to.
This is Leigh-Ann's last show with us because she can die of COVID.
She's going to die of COVID.
She's definitely going to die of COVID.
Fear is what's got to go. Fear is what holds us back. Well, holds me back. I'll speak for myself.
Tracy says, I'd rather lose my body than my mind. I also remind my husband that if my mind starts to go, just use a pillow and be firm.
Yeah, my mom has said the same kind of thing to me as you were saying earlier. If that happens to me, just shoot me. Just take me out of the picture.
Jeez.
Yeah, I think a lot of us don't want to be. I think we think about what it's like for people around us if we lose our mind. I think that's horrible when they can see the shell of you, but you're not there. I think that's got to be one of the most.
We had this question.
Even if the shell is looking good, it's been regenerated.
So this is the cool thing that I think we asked it on the show the other day. There's this red pill, blue pill thing. If you take the blue pill, you instantly get $10 million. And you're exactly where you are in your life. But there's now $10 million for you to go crazy with, right? The red pill is you go back to age 25 or whatever it was. I can't remember exactly. But you have all the stuff in your brain that you have now. All the experience, everything else, but you're instantly rewound.
Oh, gosh.
It's not even a question for me. I'd choose the 26 with what I know now.
Yeah.
Because
me too.
$10 million would be nothing compared to what could be done then.
I could make that. Yeah.
In a week.
Because I would, yes, exactly. Wouldn't make all those wrong decisions. Absolutely. No, I would go back 26.
Isn't it amazing? That just shows you how much we can value if we've done nothing else in our lives, how much we can value our experience.
Definitely. Well, that's what I think it is. If people who would choose the 10 million, I don't think that they really put any priority or any value on the things that they've learned, which is so sad because that's probably the whole point. What do you have?
Even if you made it 100 million or a billion or whatever,
still rather choose
still doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah, it wouldn't change my response. No, it wouldn't. I'd go back.
This is, I mean, it's amazing, but it's also kind of depressing. So Steve says, I had a friend who went to Dignitas in Switzerland to euthanize himself. I mean, it is and it isn't depressing, and I'm not going to get into the pros and cons of like euthanasia right now, but because that's a whole other discussion that we don't want to go into. You know, it's enough already. We're fantasizing about, you know, being able to take this pill and this happens, or, you know, your eye can be regenerated, or any of that stuff. I don't want us to get into the reality of like, oh God, there's going to be an end, because I think that's it's something everybody's dealing with on an existential level anyway, right? And Pihleng is just reminding us about the important stuff in life. Don't forget to like and subscribe, everybody.
Like and subscribe.
There we go. And Cunning Stunt says, you die when you finish your list. That is why you need lists and purpose.
Right.
And like for you in the entertainment business, did you ever hit a point, Craig, when you thought, I've done pretty much what South African entertainment can let me do? Because it is a small pool, it's a small world. You know everybody in the entertainment business. You've worked with a lot of these people before. Of course, they're new, young, brilliant people coming up all the time.
Sure.
But you'd kind of ticked it all off. Movies, TV, stage, you know, singing, dancing, acting, awards. You get to a point where you were like, is this it? Because I got there in radio.
Did you?
Yeah, long ago.
But don't you feel that then you can do things in radio that you haven't done yet? I mean, the medium the medium gives you endless possibilities. Like for me, not a lot of my career has been a plan. It's been more like a gift. A lot of what has happened has been gifts given to me. You know, opportunities that most of the time I've seized. Sometimes I've squandered and made some bad choices. But I could still play a role that could fulfill me more than any of the roles I've played previously on different levels. And I'm not talking about money or fame. I'm talking about fulfillment.
Okay, but then you got to explain this to me as well. And maybe there's a question a lot of us have got. When you play the same character, I don't know how long a season goes in theater, or, you know, like this show, We Will Rock You, that you're doing now. So you're playing this Khashoggi guy. So how long do you have to play him? And how do you keep yourself interested? Because you're not a dumb person who just trots out the same show every night.
Right.
How do you vary it enough to make it fun for you, which is so selfish, but also to give the audience what they came for?
I think that's where the discipline of entertaining comes into play. You know, it's all about spontaneity and in the moment, and you rehearse this thing and you get out there and you do it, and it's opening night, and it's a brand new experience for you and the audience. And then 3 months down the line, you're still going out there saying the same lines, doing the same thing, but for that audience member, it's still a brand new experience for them.
Yeah, but you have to then put yourself into their head.
And then you have to, that's where the discipline comes in. You have to make it like it's the first and last time you're ever going to do it.
I mean, I look at this just shows you how piss poor my discipline is compared to yours. Because once I've said something or asked someone something, whether it's in an interview or, you know, we've got some kind of scripted thing going on, or I'm over it. If it doesn't vary a little bit, I'm the problem here. Right.
So you would battle. Well, it's not a problem. Maybe you're just not wired to be a sort of theater performer where you got to learn to say the same things.
But you said the word discipline, and you're right. It's I
think that's where the discipline comes in my industry, because you can't wake up in a foul mood and go and do a crappy performance on stage because you're not feeling up to it, or
I take it out of my audience.
But you know, they've still paid the same money to come and watch me play, I don't know, Billy Flynn in Chicago. I can't dial it in that night because I've got a bit of a cold, or but I had a fight.
Just by the way, I take it out of my audience, but then they take it out of me when they're having a bad day.
You get your comeuppance. Yeah. So I suppose that's the discipline part of what we do. But I mean, people say that to teachers. How do you do the same thing every day, year after year? How do you?
Yes.
And they say, well, I'm not.
Imagine teaching the same syllabus every year. Yeah. I mean, that takes you got to put your own boredom aside.
Imagine Dr. Hanan having to sit and listen to
listen to other people's shit. Can you imagine that job?
So I suppose it just depends on what fuels you and what interests you, what you're passionate about.
There was a job that is diametrically opposed to mine. It's got to be a therapist. because I can imagine nothing worse than listening to someone sob stories every fucking day.
But maybe you'd help people, Gareth. You'd like help them snap out of it quickly.
Oh, I'd be the one who'd had to be checked into a mental institution after the first 10 days of being a therapist. I'd be finished. Poor Dr. Hanan. I'm going to send him a gift today.
Yeah.
He's
earned it.
I'm going to send him a gift, and maybe he can also, maybe I'll send him a gun and he can get rid of that guy who was doing donuts in his driveway.
The Flymo. I don't know why I'm thinking Flymo. I just picture the guy going,
wow. What would be the opposite job of what would be your perfect occupation? Have you thought about that? Like, have you ever thought about like a backup plan, because you're a successful entertainer, but that might not have happened. As you said, lucky breaks. You sound like you're a very grateful human being. You sound like gratitude.
I am now. Yes.
Right.
I mean, there was
you weren't.
No. I was quite resentful, and why am I not getting that? And why am I not doing this? And why is so and so doing better than me? But a lot of those questions have been answered for me. A lot of that was because of how I was living and choices I was making. And yeah, I was just being an ungrateful having a little pity party for 15 years of my life, basically.
But there was never a backup. Like you never thought, well, if I fail at this, I'm going to do that.
I've always had a dream to do radio. It's always been my kind of, but I suppose, is that a backup or is that still too closely related to what it's still entertaining?
I think if you and Alan Ford can get your act together and start the spotlight again.
Come on, Al.
It might be a good show for you to do.
People have always said, Craig, if you didn't, if you weren't on stage or if you weren't, what would you do? And I've always said, I'd love to do radio. So that's always been my kind of
Leigh-Ann, what about you?
I always thought that one day the last thing I did in my life would be being a piano teacher. Remember, I do have like my grade. I think it's a grade 6 or 7 in piano.
That's good.
So
I can't believe you've never brought a keyboard in and like played during all those parody songs we used to do about your boobs, or you never offered to play the piano on your own parody song.
It's weird. It's like a different level for me with piano. I never really bring it into anything else in my life. It was always a separate thing that I did for myself and in my own mind. Even though, I mean, saying that, I had a baby grand piano growing up, and so that I'd share my music with the whole neighborhood. But it was always a personal thing for me, yeah. And I just imagine my piano teacher that taught me, and I always thought that's how I would eventually go out of the world, was teaching piano to people.
Everybody is telling me that I've got to watch Selective Outrage, Chris Rock's new show, which is apparently absolutely incredible, and I haven't watched it yet, so it's my homework for today. I've got to make sure I watch this because everyone is on about it. In fact, Lebang sent me a message yesterday to say if I haven't watched it, she's just not going to talk to me anymore. So I got to get onto that.
What's it on? Is it on
Netflix?
Okay, I've seen it advertised. Yes,
it's a special, and apparently it's absolutely hilarious. He talks about Chris Rock and Will Smith and the Smacks.
Yeah,
he talks about Meghan and Harry. He talks about his entanglements with Jada Pinkett Smith, and like there's a whole lot of interesting shit going on there. So I've got to watch that. Everybody's talking about it, so we must get into.
Has he got a thing where I saw something about the pre-show, and then the show, and then the after show? Is that what he's done? Like you see him before the show.
I don't know.
I saw something advertised.
You're asking me. I have no idea.
Something on Netflix. There's the pre-show, the show, and the after show.
I'll get into that.
Yeah. But all right. Yeah.
Very good. So Leigh-Ann, you wanted to talk about, and I remember this was in the news. It was a big story when Dis-Chem and their hiring policy was the major talk of the town, and there were a whole lot of white people who were very upset because they put out a letter to say that no white people will be promoted and all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. And then apparently there have been some boycotts, silent boycotts and not so silent ones. So it's 5 months later. You've got an update on that?
Yeah, I mean, when it first happened, there were calls for boycotts. And I still remember I happened to be going to a Dis-Chem at the time. and Dis-Chem didn't have the product I wanted, so I went to Clicks. And I felt like I was part of the boycott. In the meantime, it was just circumstantial.
You showed them.
Yeah. Yeah. But I did. I wondered, how is this going to affect them? Everyone was like, "Oh,
no one,
such a big
no
thing."
one ever follows. No one ever follows up on these things. They're like, "Oh, we're going to protest or whatever," and then a couple of months later, no one even remembers.
It was like that
did.
thing with Shell. No one's going to go fill up at Shell because they're doing explosions in the wild coast,
right?
And then people are driving past, and suddenly you stop and think, "Oh, I want to get a Coke Zero. Oh, I'm in a Shell. Oh, I forgot. I'm boycotting Shell." So I think it's a similar kind of
yeah, exactly.
Slacktivism.
It's slacktivism, yes.
So what happened with these guys?
But, yeah, as it turns out, it really did hit the retail group. So Dis-Chem has reported a decline of between 5 to 8% in its white, coloured, and Asian chronic medicine dispensary customers, and it has gained in black chronic medicine clients. So people who get their subscription medications, there were definitely less, white people going in, Asian and coloured, and an increase in black clients. The revenue was also down. Apparently, they were trying to downplay it, saying, but we've also gained so many customers. But apparently, the number of clients lost exceeded the number of clients gained.
So they're being punished. And you know what? Companies, if they do things that people in society don't like, you should punish them. You shouldn't just buy things. You should be conscious of what the hell you're buying. If you don't like a company because they test things on animals, don't buy their stuff. I know you do that, Leigh-Ann. You don't like to support companies that do horrible, inhumane testing on animals.
Yeah,
and Craig was just talking about the whole Shell and fracking in the Karoo and testing off the wild coast. But you've got to stick to it. And this is proof that it can actually hit their bottom line.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing as well is that these things are so hard to measure now because everyone's tightened up in terms of spending, just with costs increasing generally.
Sure.
So, was this all about the memo, the fact that their bottom line is looking worse than it was before, or is it just consequential of what's happening around the world?
Yeah, you know what? I think activism, as long as you actually follow through, is great. And if you don't support some company because they do things that you don't agree with, then I have respect for you for that.
Yeah.
As much as I'm not the kind of guy who joins in protests very easily, I've seen these people who are spray painting circles around potholes now and writing ANC there. I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, that's great.
And I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a trend that's picking up all over the place, and it's embarrassing. But ahead of an election, which is still some time away, that is going to be a permanent reminder to people of, actually, you know what, if these guys knew what they were doing, this wouldn't be the situation. And I think for many people, good.
Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with speaking your mind and making and taking a stand. Yeah, I agree with that as well. Yeah,
it'll keep us busy, that's for sure, because just looking at the latest statistics, there are currently 25 million potholes in South Africa.
Wow,
that's not so many. I mean, that's just
CR Swart in Boskrane, I think.
For every pothole, I'm just thinking, like for every pothole there are 2.5 people roughly. So
out of you and your buddy, one of you needs to go out and spray.
If the two of us go out together, we could fill the pothole. That's what we could do.
Cindy told me yesterday about I think she said a local comedian who's doing a sort of David Attenborough thing on the potholes. He's going out and he's saying, now this one, and then how they like to come out during the rainy season. They appear much more during the rainy season. He's doing a whole David Attenborough thing on the potholes. I want to check it out.
That's amazing. Oh, by the way, we had Dr. Hanan on earlier this morning, and Cindy, who is now your fiance.
My fiance.
My fiance. She was on there with us, and we are obviously doing a whole series with Dr. Hanan at the moment. And don't be shy, by the way. If Craig could do this, and he's a public personality, then you can do it too. Let us know if you've got some situation. It doesn't have to be with your significant other. It could be with someone at work. It could be with someone in the family. It could be a friend. where you're a bit stuck, where there's something you want Dr. Hanan to give his opinion on, then let us know about that. Send us an email, contact@cliffcentral.com, and we will get on to Dr. Hanan and let him sort it out for you. Sometimes you need an objective third party to help you through these things.
Absolutely. Nothing wrong with asking for help.
Damn right. Okay, and then quickly, one other thing before we get to talk to Vili from Waterfall, who I'm excited to have on the show again. Apparently, Leigh-Ann, this is an animal story. We love animal stories, but this is not so. This is not such a great story. There's a massive problem in False Bay in the Cape because sharks, who used to be the alpha predator, are now not. They're orcas that are in there.
Oh, wow.
And these orcas are killing sharks.
Yeah.
It's something that I spoke to Anthony Meederer, who's he does blind history with me on Cliff Central, and he told me, because he's a massive shark fan, and he's someone who's been helping to put in these new shark nets that work on a completely different basis to the old ones. He's trying to conserve and look after sharks around the coastline of South Africa, because they are a hugely endangered species, and we soon won't have any if that happens, just from a human point of view. But now the orcas are doing more damage than the sharks. I mean, to the sharks than humans. How many did this orca kill? Or there were two of them, right?
There were two orcas. They were a male pair. Very infamous along in the False Bay area. In more or less what they're calling one sitting for an orca shark. I mean, an orca whale. They went on a feeding frenzy, the two of them, and they killed 17 sharks in basically one sitting. This is according to marine biologists. They've been tracking these two sharks. They've named them Port and Starboard, and they're known to prey on several species of sharks. They found these two orcas repeatedly diving down in a small area for about 2 hours before they departed offshore. A few days later, they found the remains of 11 of 17 killed 7-gill sharks in Pearly Beach.
Jesus.
Wow. And 7-gill sharks can go up to about 10 feet in length. And the thing is that you'd think, how much can they eat? They're not even eating the whole shark. They're tearing the sharks open and harvesting their livers.
They just eat the liver.
They eat the liver, and they also eat the
with some fava beans and a fine Chianti. Right?
What I don't understand.
Hannibal Lecter.
Because they're so iron rich, these livers, but they also eat the stomach contents of the sharks. Now,
and leave all the rest.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but if you've been to any of these sort of marine establishments, they sometimes open up the belly of a shark that's been, I don't know, killed in some way. And the one that I had visited had a number plate in its stomach. So sharks will eat basically anything. And these orcas are eating anything that the sharks eat.
Damn. Horrible. Wow. Horrible things.
So, yeah, apparently this is blowing.
Is this uncharacteristic behavior for orcas? It
not
certainly
really.
sounds it.
They're known. No. They're actually known to, and it's horrible because they look so cute, and I want them to be cute.
Yeah, there's black and white.
Yeah, they're beautiful. Yeah.
They're known to hunt baby sharks, baby sharks and baby dolphins.
Don't you earworm us? Don't you earworm us? Don't you dare.
That have just been born. They kind of hunt the mother
and the
baby.
I was going to say there's some hilarious language going on in the comments. Carl DeSantis saying this is awkward.
This is awkward.
Spelled O-R-C. And then propaganda saying that's sharking.
Totally shocking.
They're having a whale of a time.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
All right. Well, speaking of having a whale of a time, there was a lavish annual World's Best International Property Awards ceremony in the Savoy Hotel in London just recently on the 2nd of February. Waterfall Management Company was awarded the Best International Mixed-Use Development for the incredible Waterfall City for the year 2022 to 23. It is the 5th time in 6 years that Waterfall City has beaten formidable competitors from all over the world to claim the top spot. So if you live in Waterfall in Johannesburg, you live in probably one of the best places in the world.
Wow.
Despite the fact that South Africa has all of its problems and everything else, These guys are running one of the world's most advanced smart cities with everything that's just absolutely thought through from top to bottom. And we've produced a couple of series with them here on Cliff Central, which is why we're really proud of the fact that Billy and his team at Waterfall City have been awarded this incredible and prestigious award. So, Billy, I wanted to get you on this morning. First of all, just to congratulate you, because this is an incredible achievement. I mean, 5 times in 6 years. And you beat Cyprus, Brazil, Qatar, Hong Kong. Entries were judged based on criteria from design, layout, and quality, architecture, services, security, innovation, originality, marketing, and a commitment to sustainability. It's like you ticked every single box. Congratulations, man.
Thank you, Gareth. I must say, it is an honor, and it is a huge team effort. These things don't happen if only one person is just involved. We've got a great team in Tasha de Toy who writes it up, and I've got Martin as well. But they do the paperwork and the entry of the competition. But the real team, it's consisting of my own team at the office, but then there's Attack, Baldwin, and a number of other companies that are all participating. And even this show is also included in our, or not this particular one, but the fact that we have had that program with you, all of that is included in our competition.
Well, I mean, that's also... No, what a pleasure. I mean, listen, if we can take any credit at all, it's nothing compared to what you guys are doing. But to have produced this series, we had to have material that was worth talking about. We wanted people to know what was going on at Waterfall. And you guys really do think outside of the box about pretty much everything. You make sure that you do tick all the boxes. And I think for people who live in a country like South Africa, there are lots of problems. And municipalities struggle to keep up with not only maintenance of infrastructure, but thinking for the future. Whereas you guys set this amazing and almost immaculate example of what could be done, even in a country like South Africa, even when we have all the difficulties that we do with the electrical grid and everything else. It seems to me like you are thinking the way all of us should be. And really, it's not just about the awards. I mean, you could probably teach us a ton about how to manage our own properties, our own lifestyles. And maybe that's one of the things that made us want to do these podcasts with you in the first place. I mean, they really are worth listening to. And I'd encourage anybody who wants to know why Waterfall City is such an amazing place to go and listen to the podcasts from episode 1 of season 1 right through to where we are at the moment. But what is it? What do you think your secret is?
We don't wait for other people to tell us what to do and to ask them what to do. We just do it. We believe South Africa is a great country. Yes, and we do have problems, but if we sit and wait and we only talk about all the negativity around it, then we will all be negative and we will really be third world. But it doesn't have to be that way. We must, we've got a lot of energy, we've got a lot of knowledge in our environment, and we've just decided that we are going to put all of that together and lead from the front. That's why I said earlier, it's a great team that we have. Ultimately, a city like this runs on infrastructure. And we have, from the word go, realized how important that is. You can take any one of all the bad examples where things have gone wrong, is where people have not looked after the infrastructure that they have. Mm-hmm. In our case, we realized that, and we tried to go a little bit further than that. We with our water landscaping and so on. Many people say, "Yeah, but why are we doing it? It's just it's exclusive, etc." I'm saying no. It is firstly water-wise, because we've got indigenous grass and plants and so on. Secondly, it creates a nice atmosphere in which people can live. It's sometimes almost a tourist attraction. But a very, very important thing is that we are giving jobs to over 500 unskilled and which would have been otherwise unemployed people.
Correct.
So the whole thing has a big advantage where you have infrastructure. It's like that all over the world, where people spend money and time on infrastructure. They create jobs. And and then the other thing is, it does help us with electricity, with security. Sometimes people wonder, how can I say that? But if if things are in place, grass is properly looked after, then you see very easily when people are out of place, when they shouldn't be there. So there's a number of things that we've learned, and I must say, the residents, the tenants, the partners at Waterfall, they all buy into it. So it's actually easy for me to just come and talk to you here about it, because there's so many people that are buying into that.
Well, tell us about the award, because I sketched a little bit of a picture. I mean, you went to the Savoy Hotel in London and you guys received that award there, which is incredible. It's just amazing that you've received it now, 5 times, which is absolutely incredible. What does the award mean to you, and what does it mean to your team?
Well, let me put it this way. There's 126 countries that are participating in this, well, all in different categories, not all of them necessarily in our category. But the main thing for us is we benchmark. We want to see what is out there. How can we be part of the best in the world? You'll find very few people in my team and also in the companies that are working here that just wants to be mediocre. All of us want to strive to be the best that we can be. And to do that, you must look at what the rest of the world's doing, and that is assisting us a lot. So it's also a credit to the people working here. I'm proud that I'm from South Africa. Every time we stand there, it's not like we feel ashamed of ourselves. We're very proud, and we're proud of South Africa. It's a great country. We just need to focus on the right things.
But you also received another award in Dubai, didn't you?
Yes, that was the first round, or actually the second round of this competition, where we won the best in Africa. That one, I think it's the 9th time in 8 years that we've won that. And I must say, when you are in Dubai and you look at that environment, those people who have been fortunate enough to be there from a construction point of view, that's magnificent. And even when I walk around there, we don't have the same tall buildings and so on, but I don't feel ashamed of what we are doing. We have a few great things that's going on here. Look, there's other places in South Africa where people also are doing these things, but we feel proud when we are there.
Well, I mean, I think I'd rather live in Waterfall City than in Dubai, but that's just me. I prefer,
I must say, even I.
Yeah. So Billy, what is new and what's on your agenda for 2023? I mean, no pressure. You have to keep on upping the ante. You have to keep on winning these awards. So what are you guys doing at the moment? What are you thinking about at the moment?
There's a number of, from a construction point of view, there's a number of new head offices going up. People may be aware of the big Vantage. It's a data center building. They are also expanding on their development. This year we're focusing a lot on improving our smart city technology, as well as looking at sustainability. One of the things that worries us a lot is obviously the power shortage that we have, electricity shortage. Sure. So we work on a number of initiatives to see whether we can reduce our dependency on Eskom. So we've got a solar plant initiative at the moment. We've got 2 large engineering companies investigating that. And then we also are very concerned about the water situation. So we've got a major project going on where we are looking at rainwater harvesting, water extraction from the Yexka River, which we are doing already, but to increase that, because many people drive through here and sometimes, they think we're wasting water, but it's very raw sewer polluted water that we take, and we treat that and we use that on our landscaping. But we want to see if we can't increase that to an even better level. And then from a technology point of view, traffic is a very important component. We want to see how quickly we can change our traffic infrastructure to smart traffic lights, and hopefully take all of that off the grid, so that at least the experience into and out of Waterfall City will be, a good experience. Those are three of, let's say, the most important things that we are focusing on. Sorry, there's one other very important thing, and that's from an environmental point of view. You may be aware that we have over 100 hectares of green space, actually over 300 in total, but in the one particular development, just over 100. So we have decided that we are really going to focus on eradicating non-indigenous plants and focus on that. So those are our main focus points, plus then the construction of these new buildings.
Yeah, those of us who are not lucky enough to live in Waterfall City, we can still drive. We can drive through and see how well it's. We can drive by and look at how it's possible to live. It's
how the other half lives.
Yeah, I mean the things that you've just said, really, in one paragraph or in one soundbite. How we would love to hear that from our government.
Well, I heard Willie has been approached to be mayor of Johannesburg, and he just said no straight up. He's not interested. He's like, I don't want that job. No, it's terrible. A horrible job, that.
What can I say? I don't think I envy any one of those people. They have their work cut out for themselves. So I'll just stick to what I'm doing at the moment.
Willie, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Again, congratulations on these awards, and keep doing the amazing work you're doing. We're all watching what you're up to at Waterfall, because I think everybody could learn from it, right?
Yeah, well done.
Yeah, very, very cool stuff.
Thank you very much, Gareth. I really enjoyed being on your program. Thank you.
Never a problem. Thank you, Willie. Willie Vos is the CEO of the Waterfall Management Company, and they're leading the way internationally. You heard 126 countries. And these guys are getting the top award year after year after year. It's just absolutely amazing. So when people again say to you, "Oh, South Africa, got to get out of here. It's such a shit place," just look at what can be done when a bunch of smart people get together and decide we're going to do this right. Yeah, absolutely. We can win the world's best title over and over again. So let's keep doing this. You are doing excellent work by international standards. I'm thrilled to have you here on the show this morning.
It's been so great to be here. Thank you.
No, it's such a pleasure. And we'll see you on stage in We Will Rock You, which is on at the Peter Turin Theatre in Montecito.
At the Teatro. Sorry, the Teatro at Monte, from the 12th of March to the 16th of April.
Showtime for tickets.
Showtime.co.za.
And we will also hopefully have you back here on Cliff Central soon with Spotlight. You and Alan Ford got to get your act together and bring that show back. So
come on, Alan Ford. Come on. Yeah, we would love to do that. Thank you.
All right, very nice. But there we are. Craig Urbani, everybody. Leigh-Ann, don't die of COVID, okay?
I'm going to focus, as I always do every day, on living.
Just
every
that's
minute
good.
Of every day.
That's good. Yeah, correct.
Feel better, Leigh-Ann. Feel better.
Very,
Thanks,
very nice.
guys.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We will see you tomorrow at 6 a.m. bright and early. Be good.